I'm Richard Berg. I'm the past president of Teamsters Local 743. I got involved in the labor movement in the United States probably even as a child. My father was active in the Teamsters Union, which was the union I would later be involved with. And he drove a truck across the United States taking motor parts from here to there, and he was active in the union. Led some strikes in the late 60s, was a shop steward, and which is the leader on the in his workplace. And then when I went to the university, I got involved in progressive politics. Maybe for a time I didn't think unions were very important, but I came to understand as I met more and more people and saw the role of working class people and of the trade unions that this was important, and decided that that was something I wanted to be involved in too. When I went to work, I worked at a shop as a janitor for 20 years, cleaning floors of a hospital, and I was very active in the union there. It was the Teamsters Union, and eventually I was elected president.
The situation of the unions in the United States is very difficult. Not so many people are unionized. Can you explain a little bit about this situation?
Yes. Well, I think everywhere in the world, the struggle to have unions, to have them recognized, and to win gains is difficult and ongoing. And whenever there's unions, it's the result of heroic battles of people, whether it's in the third world or in an imperialist country like the United States. The history in our country is that unions emerged the late 19th and early 20th centuries. There was major strikes and battles for industrial unions, and they probably reached their peak in the period just after World War II. But there was a major effort in this country to prevent unions from organizing in the public sector, in the agricultural sectors, as well as regionally in the South and in other parts of the country. And they've, through having laws, it's been made it difficult for people to join unions and to have unions recognized. Also, I think in the 1950s and late 40s, there was a concerted effort on behalf of government and business to get the militants and the communists out of the unions, and they largely succeeded. And as a result, they took the teeth in the fight out of the unions, and we've been going backwards ever since.
Yeah. So in this situation, you struggled a long time to get a responsible place in the union. Can you explain this struggle and how you got elected?
Right. Militants like myself are not very common in the top leadership of the unions. But in the Teamsters, we have a group. It's called Teamsters for Democratic Union. It's a caucus of people who want the union to fight more and to be more democratic and more responsive to the workers. I joined that organization, and along with people who, for many years, for decades, who've been fighting for this kind of democracy and fighting this in our union, we won the right to vote for our top union officials nationally. This was a very long, hard battle, and so that was important. In 1991, the union elected a progressive president of the national union named Ron Carey, and he led strikes. The most famous is the national strike at United Parcel Service, where over 300,000 workers went out on strike to preserve their pensions and also to fight for full-time jobs as opposed to part-time jobs with little or no benefits. And it captured the imagination of people around the United States. It was a major battle. After that strike, the government intervened and removed him from president of our union. But by being involved in these battles in the 90s, we built a base of support in our union in Chicago, which is right now it's about 11,000 members, and there was battles against corruption, plant closings, but in each case we went out to there's about 120 different different companies that have contracts with our local union. And we went out whenever there was a problem at any of them. We went out, and if the union officials weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing, we tried to educate the workers, mobilize them, and get them involved in fighting for their own economic interests. And we gained the respect of the workers there. There was problems with corruption when we ran for office. The local union officials who were tied to organized crime were caught. We caught them stealing elections, but the government, despite our protests to them, wouldn't intervene. Truthfully, our workers were upset that the elections were being stolen, and it created a cynicism. And so it made it very difficult to get people active when they didn't feel like they could have a say in who would be the leaders of their union. And so that was a difficulty. But eventually we were able to, after we caught them several times stealing votes, the government also found the president of our union had ties not only with organized crime, but also was involved in drug trades of cocaine and so we were able to get a fair election. And then when we got the fair election, we won it. And that was a big victory for the workers.
So in that position, you had an important struggle to lead, SK Tools.
Yes.
Can you tell about that?
Yes, SK Hand Tools was a very important battle in our. Just when we took over the leadership of the union, we wanted to send a message that we wouldn't just accept whatever the employer wanted. That we tried to mobilize and organize the workers to fight for what they thought was best, and that they would really run the union. In the case of SK Tools, first they tried to take away their pension, and we had a battle there. We threatened to strike, and eventually the owner capitulated, and we were able to preserve the pension. Then the owner said he wanted to take away their health insurance, which is very important. So the workers had a discussion, and we decided to strike there. It wasn't an easy discussion because of it's become very difficult to strike in the United States. It's very easy for the employers to get replacement workers, since the 1980s when Ronald Reagan was president, they didn't change the laws as much as the interpretation of the laws to make it easy to replace workers. So it takes a lot of courage to strike, and because it was only less than 100 workers, we needed to try to have an impact nationally. So we talked about working with other unions, boycotting Sears and Roebuck, which was one of the people that sold the tools for S&K, and so we launched a strike to try to get their health insurance back.
Can you explain that a little bit, the system of health insurance and how the employers can cut from one day to the other, the health insurance? What is the importance of this struggle about?
Yes, it's common for us because it's the only system we know, but it's not a good one. We've been fighting to try to get health insurance for people in the United States for decades without success. You don't in the United States. You don't get health insurance just because you live there or because you're a citizen. Almost everybody has health insurance through their employer. So when you get a job, the employer can give you wages and benefits, and part of the benefit package may be health insurance. Now less and less people have health insurance. So these insurance companies, which are very large, if you have health insurance, when you go to the hospital or the doctor, if you have an insurance card, they'll pay a portion depending on how good the health insurance is. If you have a union that's strong, you're more likely to have health insurance, and you're more likely to have the employer pay a bigger portion of your to the doctor or the hospital when the bill comes in, or maybe even pay everything if it's very strong. But for many people that don't have unions, especially working people, they have no health insurance at all. And so when they go to the doctor, they have to pay the full bill themselves. And this can be if it's a major sickness, this can wipe out everything you have. It can take, you'll go into bankruptcy and they'll take your house, or if you own one, or whatever, everything. That's the worst case scenario. But even for people who are relatively healthy, every day when you go to the doctor, the bills are very large, and so if you do regular checkups for you or for your family, if you have birth or children or something like that, these are things that are very, very expensive. So it's a major hardship on people, and it tends to make people just not go to the doctor at all. And so it's a very bad situation. It's very devastating to many people and many families.
So what happened during the strike, and what was the result of the strike?
The strike went on for almost 2 months, and it was in the context of a debate that was going on in the United States over health care as well, because President Obama was trying to modestly expand the amount of health insurance that was given, and the right wing was trying to make sure that didn't happen, because the insurance, the system we have now creates huge profits for insurance companies and medical care providers, and a socialized medical system would probably take away some of their profits. At least that's how they saw it. So we used this debate to talk about the workers at SK Hand Tools, and to say that to show their situation and how people who have good jobs and are hardworking people, and we actually were able to get people into the press, and to say, people that other workers and other people across the country could identify with and be sympathetic towards, to say how insurance was important to them, that they had made a product, a tool that is seen as a high-end hand tool, wrenches, that many people may have seen and identified with, and hopefully could see their labor in that product as well. And so we wanted to get the word out broadly. At one point we called for a boycott. Or we didn't call it a boycott because legally you can't have secondary boycotts in the United States, but we let everybody know that SK Hand Tools were being sold at Sears and Roebuck Company, and which is a huge department store in the United States. And that information got Sears didn't want to be part of this bad publicity, so we got them to pull the SK products from the shelves. And we've had many politicians and other unions, people of conscience, come to the picket line, show their support, to let people know that they weren't alone out there. People donated food and other products to it. We went to our national union's women's conference, and we passed out flyers to all the delegates there, so people all across the country would know about our situation and call for support. And it was a very difficult, long strike. The company was in economic trouble. The downturn that had happened in the country really did affect them. There was an owner who had went into debt to buy the company. It was a leveraged buyout, as we call it, and so the union ended up giving some concessions back to the company, but we were able to win the health insurance and the pension, which were the two things that we thought were the most important. Strike pay. It's been a big fight in our union, actually, about strike pay. When the union for years, when it had corrupt leadership, would just take members' money and not wage any real struggle. When we elected a progressive in 1991 to the national leadership, we raised the strike benefits dramatically, and the national strike at UPS and other things actually cost the union a lot of money to have those fights and to pay out strike benefits. There's also been a fight over how much dues should be in our union. It's set by, both of those are set by the National Union, and we've been involved in these debates. Our caucus, Teamsters for Democratic Union, has wanted to have more money spent on struggle, including strike benefits, and less money spent on salaries for top union officials. So, for example, when I was elected president of my local union, I cut the salary of the president by 50%. And it was still, I made a lot of money, but it was just so we could spend the money on other things like the SK hand tool strike. The dues are for each worker are 2.5 hours pay each month, and you're gonna have to edit this. I gotta think about the strike pay for a minute. Give me a minute. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was the strike pay was it's related to your dues, and your dues have to be paid up. It's tied to your national dues, so it's related. It's different for each person slightly, but most of our members were making $125, $150 a week in strike benefits. Now, our local union, on top of that, would supplement that, and we so this came out of from the members of, and this is not required by other unions, but we tried to tie it as much as we could to activity. So we gave like gas cards to people so that they could drive from place to place to actually organize for the strike. And there was, people donated food pantries, stuff like that. We gave extra, like maybe $50 or $40-50 a week in either gas or actual cash to people. Food cards sometimes for the Jewel's a food market store across Chicagoland. It's easy to find. So these were ways for people to help survive, and there were contributions from their sister and brother Teamsters, either nationally or from Local 743, and we publicized the strike widely, as widely as we could, but especially amongst our local union members and through our newsletter and things like that, so people knew that this money was going for these guys. And we didn't really look at it as charity either. We thought it was important to send a message, not just to all the employers from our local union, that if they wanted to try to take away some of the things that we'd been fought for before, that they would face a very serious strike. We wanted to let the employers and our members know that this was a